long before he penned the Gospel of Luke and Acts of the Apostles. Luke was just another educated physician in Antioch, probably stitching up gladiators and diagnosing feverish merchants along the Orontes River. And then, somewhere in the roaring spiritual awakening of the 40s AD, something happened. Something big, something life-altering. Luke's conversion, the story the Bible doesn't tell. Luke's personal conversion never made it into Scripture. No blinding lights like Paul the Apostle, no burning bushes, no dramatic jailbreaks, not even a footnote. Instead, history gives us clues, breadcrumbs scattered across the early church tradition. Antioch becomes a booming Christian hub after the Jerusalem persecution. Paul and Barnabas arrive in 40 AD and teach for a year. A bright, sharp, Greek-speaking doctor hears the message, and suddenly the man who once practiced medicine is practicing discipleship. Did Luke hear Paul preach in a crowded Antioch marketplace? Did he meet the believers treating the wounded and poor? Did he patch up Paul after an illness and get more than he bargained for? We don't know, but whatever happened, it worked. From clinic to caravan. Once converted, Luke didn't just attend weekly gatherings and bring hummus to the potluck. He left everything. Medicine, stability, his hometown in Antioch. He joined him on the dusty, dangerous missionary road. The moment Act switches to we, Luke steps directly into the story like a character entering his own documentary. Doctor turned field correspondent, a historian with a backpack, a Gentile outsider becoming a core insider. Luke wasn't content just to believe, he needed to verify. He interviewed witnesses, he tracked down stories, he cross-examined details, he compared accounts like a meticulous scholar with a very sharp scroll. Whoa. He had access to the Gospel of Mark, traditionally tied to Peter, Gospel of Matthew, early histories, and living witnesses. Mary's family was among them according to early tradition, and because he was a physician, his gospel is peppered with medical precision, like the man with dropsy in Luke 14:2. Peter's mother-in-law with a high fever, not just a fever that she was sick, but a severe fever, Luke 4:38. And Jesus was sweating like drops of blood. Matthew and Mark, they don't mention any of that. Luke sees what others miss, like any good doctor or investigative journalist. Luke started writing late. By the time Luke picked up his pen around 60 to 80 AD, he wasn't a rookie convert. He was a seasoned missionary and historian with decades of experience. In other words, Luke didn't write from fresh steel. He wrote from deep, weathered eyewitness and grounded maturity. He wasn't writing for fame. He wrote because a patron, likely a nobleman named Theophilus, funded the project, asking for a fully investigated account. Essentially, Luke, go get the truth, all of it. The legacy born from one quiet conversion. Luke's conversion didn't shake cities like Paul's did. It didn't involve visions or heavenly voices. No prisons flew open. No scales fell from the eyes. It happened quietly, yet it changed Christian history forever. Because the man who once treated illness went on to treat uncertainty. Because the Gentile who arrived late to the story became the one who told it most completely. Because the doctor who mended bodies ended up mending understanding, giving us some of the most detailed windows into Jesus' compassion, miracles, and message. His books make up nearly 1/4 of the entire New Testament. Not bad for someone who started life outside the story, and then wrote the story we still read today.